If you missed Tuesday evening's Facebook Live, I showed people how to do the stamping off technique to create a lighter shade of a color, as well as to add dimension to your cards. And then we also changed them up a little bit. We went from this card with the white and shaded spruce green to this card using very vanilla and Mossy Meadow ink. Okay, and a little bit of Mossy Meadow cardstock there. Okay, so today I'm going to show you, and the theme today is add just one or change just one. When you think of, say for example, and this can be applied to life, to business, your creative projects, all kinds of things, but you know, change just one. For example, if you are trying to live a healthier lifestyle, you can probably come up with a dozen of changes you can make. Well, I guess that's me. You know, I need more sleep. I need to eat 3 meals a day. I need to snack less. I need less sugar. I need to exercise more. That sort of thing. You know, you can come up with a long list of ways you can make changes to your overall lifestyle. However, if you try to implement all of those at the same time, all of those changes, it gets overwhelming. Well, the same thing in Stampin' Up! And paper crafting, okay? If you look at a card and you think, oh, I'm going to make that, and it's got loads of products and several techniques and lots of layers and embellishments, and it really is a wow card, but then you start to make it and you're overwhelmed. And this can happen with very experienced stampers, but more so with beginner stampers or new stampers, or perhaps people that have been taking classes but don't do much creating on their own. So today I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can step up your cards with the products that you have. And I think you'll find if you're wanting to do this, and if you change just one element each time you create a card or other paper craft, you will find that it's much easier to step up your cards than you think. Don't try to do too much at one time. Okay, so for example, on Tuesday's Facebook Live, I started with this card. I showed them other ways. You know, you can put your label in a different place, you can put your rhinestones on a different tree, etc. And then we moved to this card, okay, with the very vanilla and Mossy Meadow, and I could have stopped right there. I could have added some pearls or ribbon, whatever, but I chose to pull this reindeer from the Dashing Deer bundle and just simply cut it out from soft suede ink and popped it on. So you can see I made a couple of changes there in color of ink and cardstock, in the shape of the label, change the sentiment, whatever. But I started with it's the same basic card, okay? And I use the same technique of Stampin' Off, okay? Then as I was cleaning up after Tuesday's Facebook Live, I thought, oh, I wonder what the deer would look like if I used copper foil paper. And there it is, and I love it, okay? I loved this card, but I really love this card. So this one has become a like simply because I stepped it up using a different foil, okay? Another thing might be to add a little snow on the trees, or perhaps a little bit of embellishing of the label, okay? But you see how I changed just one thing and it changed the whole look of my card, didn't it? Okay? So let me give you some more examples of ways you can step up your cards with some basic supplies, okay? This is a card I made for a recent demonstrator swap. And I tend to keep my cards clean and simple, even when I'm swapping with demonstrators, because I want everybody to be able to case it. I want everybody to be able to make this, okay? And I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed. I want them to enjoy the process and love the end product, okay? But after I mailed in my swaps, I started looking at this card more and thinking, what can I do differently to step up this card? So I'm going to show you that right now, okay? I'm going to start with the same basic Whisper White card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have another piece of the Granny Apple Green cardstock measuring 5 1/4 by 4 inches. But let me show you how I'm going to change that, okay? I'm going to bring in my Big Shot, and then I have this, should have changed out my plates earlier. 1 second. And then I have this Subtles die, okay? Now it might not look like much, okay? But it really is going to make a great impact on this card, okay? I'm going to put my piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock in the folder, and I'm going to send it through my embossing machine. Okay, you're not going to believe this, but I am in the process of changing the layout of my craft room a little bit again. And the reason is I'm trying to make a U shape so I have everything within hand's reach. So that was nice to just reach back there, but I'm constantly changing. Do you do that too with your craft space? It's like the more you work in the space, the more you're able to make changes and make the space fit better or make it more efficient for you. Okay, so right here, you see the difference from the plain Granny Apple Green cardstock to it embossed with the Subtles embossing folder, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and add that. Okay, so truly, this could be the one change. And then I would go ahead and make the rest of the card the same. Okay, but let me show you something else you can do to change up your card base, okay, before you start adding anything. Instead of using the Whisper White card base and one layer, I'm going to change it to a Granny Apple Green card base, okay, and I'm going to put 2 layers on the front, okay. So I'm going to use a piece of Whisper White cardstock measuring the basic 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, really simple change, right? And I could add these same elements with the exception I might do a little sponging around the circle label, or pop it up or put another layer of color behind it just so it would show on the white. But can you imagine what that would look like? Just changing up the two, the card base and the layer, okay? But now I'm going to go back to my Big Shot and that Subtles embossing folder. So here I'm combining 2 changes to step up my card. Wow, ladies, thanks for joining me. I see Inez, Kathy, Amy, Jamie, who else is on here, and Tammy Latrell. So thanks for joining me. I'd appreciate it if you click the share button. I know Thursday afternoons can be a difficult time for people to jump in, but I do like to offer my weekly Facebook Lives at 2 different times. And don't forget, all of the Facebook Live videos are shared to their respective business page or the group on Facebook, and they are shared there indefinitely. So you can always find them under videos or on the linked for the post date. Okay, so now I'm going to add this piece of Granny Apple Green, and this measures 5 inches by, no it doesn't, it measures 5 1/8 by, let me think about this, 5 1/4. So it measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I just went down 1/8. If you want a little more of the white showing through, go down a whole quarter like we typically do, 5 by 3 3/4. Okay, so there you go. So there's a change, right? Okay, I've been on some training calls today. I've been rearranging my craft room. I've been sending emails, and I was prepping for my Facebook Live, but failed to pull this out. Okay. And of course, there's other wonderful sentiments in the Harvest Hellos stamp set. This, along with the coordinating punch, are both in the holiday catalog, which goes live a week from today, September 4th. Okay, but I love it because it does the apples, and I have a daughter who's a teacher, and apples are just a great theme for fall as well as school and teachers. And then you can also make pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns with the stamp set and its coordinating punch. Okay, so I have some red here, real red, and I'm going to stamp my apple in Early Espresso ink. Okay, now I just went ahead and punched this and put it on my card. Okay, something I can do to change this up is a couple of things. I can add Wink of Stella to these accent lines. Okay, that's where you would see the like the shine of the apple, you know, from the light. Or it could even go over it with some white. Okay, this doesn't show up quite as well. It's just absorbing right in, but I think you get the idea, right? You'd probably want to let it dry and go over it a couple times, but that changes the look of it, doesn't? Okay. Or, like I said, I could stamp it, let it dry a moment, and then go over those accent lines with a little Wink of Stella. This is a little more subtle change than the white. Okay, so it's really just about what you'd like to do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and punch this. Be sure to stay on till later in the video. I'll be giving you a word to type in the comments, and then one of you will win today's card. But you have to comment the word I give you to be entered into the drawing for today's card. Okay. Now the other thing is you can stamp the stem, just as I did. And this is so easy. I could use the same. Okay. Now there I used a little bit lighter, what do I want to say? Cardstock. I use soft suede, but here I'm using Early Espresso ink on Early Espresso cardstock. And of course, you know how it is with these builder punches. They're a lot of fun, but you do get all these crazy little pieces around. Okay, I did already, for the sake of time, stamp this half apple, or a slice of apple, and then I colored it with some Stampin' Blends markers. Okay, and since I put some of the Wink of Stella glimmer on here, I'm going to add a little to this as well. And I think I'm just going to go around and do it on that red apple skin, just like that. And then maybe even a little bit right there on the seed. Okay, so let me put this on the card base. And you can see how this looks a little bit different already, okay? But of course, you know, there's subtle changes, aren't they? Okay. And in a few minutes, we'll go into how you can make some even more elaborate changes. Hi, Katie, and hi, Heather. Thanks for joining me on this Thursday afternoon. Okay. And then, of course, I might want to stamp and I'm just going to do the teacher again. Oh, here it is. My oldest daughter is a 5th and 6th grade math teacher, so these are some things, some cards I can send to her and some of her colleagues, and I know a few other teachers. Okay. Okay. Now, if I want to change this up a little bit, I can do that a couple of ways. Okay. Does anybody have any ideas of how I can change this up so that it looks different from the sentiment label on my original card? I've got a couple of ideas, and I want to see if any of you come up with some of the same. Any ideas out there? Oh, come on, ladies. I know you have some. Okay, well, here's a couple of thoughts. Number one, you can back it on a punch. You could do another circle. You can go to our layering circle dies and pull out perhaps a scallop circle that's just a little bit bigger than this white circle. Or you can, like me, pull out this pretty label punch. And I'm using Early Espresso again, just sticking with my basic colors. Okay, and then I can drop it on like that. Okay. Any ideas how I can bump it up a little bit more? Watch this. I'm going to go back to the Whisper White and that sentiment to an A+ teacher, and instead of stamping it in the Early Espresso, I'm going to stamp it in real red ink. Okay. Whoops. I'm also going to add Wink of Stella on just that A+. This has a real fine brush tip, so it's easy to just go over that A+, okay? And Wink of Stella does pick up, or it can pick up, some of the ink. You see that little bit of red there? So just be aware of that. You don't want to go over and over and over it, or before switching colors and before putting it away, you also want to clean it off, just like going back and forth until it looks clear. Okay. And then I can put this on here like that. I like that already. What do you think? Hi, Cindy. Thanks for joining me. And this time, instead of just putting on my sentiment with regular adhesive, I'm going to put it up on dimensionals. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on my card front. Just like that. And at this point, I can be finished if I choose. Okay, or I can pull in that ribbon I used before, make a quick knot. Oh, Cindy, good. I'm glad your husband is driving. I just read that and thought, oh, please don't text and drive. I'm so happy you left to watch, but it's certainly not worth an accident or injury. But thank you for being safe while you're watching in the car. Okay, so I could finish it off with that knotted ribbon like I did on the first one. I could also, instead of doing that, or in addition to, whatever you prefer, I can put on a couple of red rhinestones. On each end of the label, like that. Okay, so there's one. Alrighty. And you don't have to do all these things at once. You saw what just adding this embossed Granny Apple Green cardstock does, right? What an impact that made, correct? Okay, so don't feel like you have to do all these things, okay? But let me show you a few other things. First of all, you saw me stamp on the real red cardstock and punch it out. Now here, I might want to go ahead and stamp on Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to pull the leaf from here as well. Here it is. Okay. I'm also going to stamp that. I'm going to stamp each of these in the early espresso. Now I am going to be using Stampin' blends, okay, to color these. Now, if you don't have Stampin' blends, use your Stampin' Right markers. You can use color pencils, anything at all, okay? So I've pulled out Cherry Cobbler, and I've also pulled out Real Red. When I'm working with blends, I like to get out a scrap of the same, the same cardstock that I'm using here, okay? And kind of test them out, okay? And don't do it on paper because it's not the same medium that you're using. You want to be as accurate as you can be. Okay, that's pretty bright, isn't it? Okay, love it. But let me check on and see what I think of the Cherry Cobbler. Oh yeah, I like that better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and color this with Cherry Cobbler. Okay, I like to work with my dark shades first. Okay, and then I'm going to add the darker color. Gosh, it seems like a lot of you have left me. Oh, I hate when that happens. I know people are busy, but I hate, nonetheless, I hate when that happens. Okay, so I started with dark Cherry Cobbler, and then I've moved to the lighter shade. Okay, and I do want it even darker than that. So I'm going to go back in with that Cherry Cobbler. That dark shade, right? Okay, pulling some of that back in with the light. Okay. And you can even use the Stampin' Blends Color Lifter to add some more dimension here. Maybe in here where these accents are, go a little lighter. Okay. I might even want to go a little lighter in the center here, almost as if the sun is shining directly on my apple from the front. Okay. See how that works? Okay. And then I can go ahead and punch this out with my apple builder punch. Or maybe it's called it might be called the pumpkin builder punch actually. Okay, but you see how that would make a nice change, coloring it up that way? Okay. One more thing I wanted to show you was highlighting the sentiment. So I'm going to stamp it again and punch it. And this time, I'm going to put some adhesive all over the back. I'm going to use this gold metallic thread. Okay. And I'm going to wind it around my fingers a few times. I don't even count, I just do it. Okay. And I don't worry. You just want to make sure it's long enough, longer than, what do I want to say? Longer than the piece that you are adding it to. And I'm just adding it behind there, okay? Let's do this. Okay. So just some pretty gold thread, metallic thread behind it. Okay, using that as an embellishment. Okay, you see what that does? Just very light, very subtle. Okay, now I'm going to add this apple that I colored. I'm going to also color in my stem. Right now I'm just using the bronze what do I say? The bronze Stampin' blend. Okay. And now on these leaves, I'm just gonna do Mossy Meadow. I don't want to do Granny Apple Green because I want them to stand out for me a little bit more than that. Okay. And I think by using the darker Mossy Meadow, they will. Okay. Notice on my first card, I didn't even have any leaves. What was I thinking? But that's okay. It still looks wonderful. Okay. I'm going to use my builder punch to punch out all of these pieces. And when you punch and you get this like little white background, even that can change the look of the card a bit. See what I mean? How each punched piece has that little background of white, that little rim of white. Okay. So I'm going to use some glue dots. I'm going to add the stem. Remember, if you're still watching, I'm shortly soon going to be giving you a word and asking you to type it in the comments for a chance to win my inspiration card. Okay, I'm going to do that. And a second leaf, maybe behind a little bit. It's almost apple picking season very soon. There's a place not too far from where I live in Westerville, Ohio, that has gala apples for picking starting this weekend. So I'm going to see if I can head out there. Okay. Now I did not stamp that half a slice of apple, and I want to show you this too, because you're saying, well, Mary, there's only one punch. Do I have to cut this out by hand? And you know I do love to fussy cut, but I understand some people don't. And why do it if you have a punch or other tool that will do the cutting out for you? So let me show you this. Super, super fun and easy. Okay. I need a little bit of this early espresso for my seed. Could have gone a lighter, but that's okay. So I'm just going to stamp it, or punch it. I stamped, I colored, and now I'm punching that apple. And to get the half, you just simply cut it in half, okay? And I'm going to pop that up on some dimensionals. So you can see already I've given you several ways that you can step up your card. Let me add a little, I want to add some Wink Stella to this. Do it there and here, just very subtle. Put my apple slice on. Add some there. Okay, I'm going to add a little to the A plus teacher. Okay. All right, and I think I'll pop this up as well also. But before I do that, I want to see how this looks on, and I don't see my, what happened to my piece of early espresso? I'll quick grab another one. Okay, punches are always fun to layer up. Okay, so you can even, I could even do that if I wanted. Okay, using the gold and the black, or early espresso on the background there. Okay, so, but I think I just want to pop this up without the early espresso on the back. Okay. Okay. And I have one more way for you to change up your card, to step it up. You can, and I think I'm out of the real red, but yes, I am. Okay, I'm out of real red for my, I have this, what do I want to say? It's the designer 6x6 designer series paper that we have for all the color families. Okay, but I'm going to do this just to show you. Instead of stamping on cardstock and punching out, or stamping on white and coloring, you could punch your apple from a piece of designer series paper. Okay, now again, this is not the right color. This is Poppy Parade, and I've been using real red, and here I use cherry cobbler. Okay, but you can see how fun that would be as well. Okay, so that's today's Facebook Live demonstration. The purpose of the demonstration was to show you a variety of ways that you can make changes to a very basic card, or by changing just one or two things or more, or we also call that stepping it up. Okay, now if you're a beginner stamper or new to stamping, you might have limited supplies, so you might be doing something like this, because I just used one ink pad. Okay, I had one embellishment, the ribbon, okay, and I had 2 punches. And as far as cardstock colors, it took me 3. Well, 4 if you count the brown. Okay, and here, doing the same thing with those same number of cardstock colors. Okay, I've added a second ink pad, the Real Red, and I've purchased a different embellishment, the Real Red Rhinestones. Okay, and then lastly, you could change it up by adding some gold metallic thread or a different ribbon than the original, or you can color your apple before punching it. Okay, but don't forget, embossing folders are one of the first and most impactful ways you can step up your cards. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed today's live presentation. I will be giving away a card today, and I would like you to type in the comments apple slice. If you type apple slice in the comments, I will enter your name in the drawing for my inspiration card. Okay? And if you are the one who receives this inspiration card, I would love to see how you could remake it or how you would step it up. So feel free to send me a picture or just type me a message of how you would do that. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We have beautiful weather in Ohio, so I hope wherever you are that you are enjoying beautiful weather as well. I will be back live on Stampin' Scrap with Mary Knabe on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great day, enjoy your weekend, and go Buckeyes!